Now, as we heard earlier on in the segment, logistical bottlenecks remain one of the major obstacles to trade and industry development on the continent, and a serious consideration for the energy sector. Now, Africa Global Logistics, a leading operator of port, sea and rail in Africa, says it's working tirelessly with other stakeholders to remove some of these hurdles. I did catch up with Kenneth Dan-Anyiam, who is the chairman for Nigeria, for more.
As connected as we should be, and basically what we're trying to do is to bring goods and services nearer to where they're needed. Now we have to leapfrog the lack of infrastructure, or at least lack of good infrastructure, as good as they should be. And so the goal of AGL is to try and bring those services, those goods that speed up the economy closer to where they're needed. That's the primary objective. Of course, to do it in a green way, we have developed logistics bases, and what we try to do with these bases is also to integrate them. So, for example, multi-services in each base, not just transit points for goods and services, but things like fabrication, things like training schools, put them all together in each base. We're developing, multi-bases across the continent. So the idea is to make sure that we aid the speed up of trade and services across the continent. That's the basic goal.
And just across the continent, are we seeing different kind of supply chain issues? I know you just set up in Angola, you have a cold storage that just opened up. Do you see that we have different pockets of issues on the continent, or across the continent, it's the similar kind of bottlenecks?
It's basically similar, because the main problem cuts across the continent, which is infrastructure deficits. Okay, so it's across the continent. And what we also see is that even when you have the good infrastructure, the human factor, like you have customs across boards, paperwork. So we need a little bit of education for even the movement of goods and services when they get to. A lot of times the guys at the customs, they're doing their work. But we at AGL, that's why we set up the training for our own, for example, drivers and people who actually move our services, to be on top of their game when they come to these borders. Your papers must be correct, so you give less trouble to the customs. Of course, the customs themselves need to man up to their responsibilities and make sure that they are not a hindrance to the free movements of goods and services.
And obviously this week the focus has been around, just fast-tracking, adding green energy into Africa's energy mix. Is there any kind of different requirements that are needed around the energy space when it comes to fixing those infrastructure bottlenecks?
Unfortunately, infrastructure is bang on the doorstep of governments. And of course we can assist, but the primary objective, the primary responsibility is on the doorstep of governments. And the best we can do is to do our own part, which is bring in technologies that are able to, make sure that these goods and services, are optimally delivered to the clients. And we're constantly, there's something we're working on which I can't reveal at this moment, but it's going to quite revolutionize the way we do business, and it's probably going to be the only one for years to come. But at the appropriate time we'll release that.
Well, we hope